All right. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our partner panel on youth and education. I'm Tony Bridges, and I'm one of the assistant directors with Source. We're the community engagement and service learning center for Johns Hopkins. And normally around this time of year, actually back in September, we would have had what we call our virtual community, our actual community involvement fair, which wouldn't have been virtual. It would have been an in-person fair where we have our community-based organizations on campus, and it's an opportunity for you to meet with those organizations, learn as much about them as possible, and also sign up directly right then and there to partner with that organization and volunteer. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19 and the pandemic that we're all living through right now, we aren't able to bring that to you this year. And so we wanted to do something different. We still have a number of community-based partners that have opportunities, virtual and some even in person. But with those in-person opportunities, we, of course, are reminding you that you are doing that at your own risk. And if you're going to do in person, we ask that you please continue to follow the CDC guidelines if you're going to do that. But with these opportunities that you'll hear from our panelists today, they are virtual opportunities. Some they may have now, and some they may have even in the future. And so we wanted to give them these organizations an opportunity to really talk to you directly about the opportunities that they have available for you for the upcoming year. And so with that, before we get started, I just have a few acknowledgements. Of course, living here in Baltimore, I understand that we're living in a virtual world right now, and some of you may not be here in Baltimore. But in Baltimore, I'd like to give a few acknowledgments. One, to the Piscataway tribe, the indigenous people who are traditional owners of the land of the Chesapeake Bay region. And we also want to acknowledge the impact of racism and racist systemic oppression, including the practice of redlining on the lives of Black and Brown folks here in Baltimore City. Today, we have three organizations that are going to talk to you about volunteering in Baltimore and the opportunities that they have available for you. We've got Reading Partners, and from Reading Partners, we have Andrew Nelson, who's a senior distance tutoring coordinator, Commodore John Rodgers, which is right up the street from the East Baltimore campus, and Hannah Wallace, who's the community school coordinator, will talk to you about the opportunities that they have available there. And of course, Henderson-Hopkins, which is a Johns Hopkins partnership school. And we have Annie Wepper, who's the community school coordinator from there as well. And so we want to give them as much opportunity to talk to you as possible within the next hour about the opportunities that they have available. If you do have any questions as they're speaking, please be sure to put those questions in the chat. And we'll also give you an opportunity a little bit later to ask those questions directly to those organizations. And so with that, I am going to first turn it over to Andrew from Reading Partners to talk to you a little bit more about Reading Partners, what they do, and the opportunities that they have available.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Nelson. Like Tony said, I am with Reading Partners Baltimore. I am a senior distance tutoring coordinator. This is my third year with Reading Partners. I currently serve at Arlington Elementary on the west side of Baltimore. If we were doing traditional, we are doing virtual tutoring this year. Reading Partners is a literacy nonprofit here in Baltimore, working with students K through fourth grade and supporting them with their literacy skills. Tony, if you want to hit the next button. So we'd like to start our question off with, and you can put this down in the chat, what percentage of elementary school students do you think are reading nationwide proficiently by the end of the fourth grade? And I'll give you like 30 seconds or so to type in the chat how many you think. These are some great guesses, guys. Nationwide, you can go to the next one, Tony. Nationwide, only about 35% of fourth grade students are at or above the proficient level in reading. Now that's nationwide. In Baltimore City alone, 18% of fourth grade students are reading at or above proficiency. That number is staggering. That's what got me into this work. Because when I moved to Baltimore 3 years ago, I was working with high school students, and it was astonishing to me how many of the high schoolers I was working with were not able to complete lessons because they couldn't read the material the teacher was giving them. So, like I said, in Baltimore, you can go to the next screen here. So here in Baltimore and as Reading Partners, our mission is to help children become lifelong readers by empowering communities to provide individualized instruction with measurable results. We partner with students, families, schools, and communities, and this year especially are partnering with students and their families is extremely important because we are going to be in students' home and coordinating with the families on a schedule that works for them for their tutoring their students. Reading Partners Traditional, you can click to the next screen. So this year in Baltimore, we're in 16 schools. Our goal is to serve 400 students and engage 600 community volunteers so that students get 2 tutoring sessions a week. And as you can see, we're all over the city. So as far south as Cherry Hill to as far north as my school in the Pimlico neighborhood of Baltimore City. So a typical tutoring session, our program model, especially in a virtual environment, 1 to 3 days before we send email, we email tutors the lesson material. That gives them, the tutor, the chance to look at the material they're going to be working with their student on. This is also an opportunity where, like, if they have questions or whatever, they can email the site coordinators, the DTCs is what they're called now. Then the day of the session, they come 20 minutes early for their session to make sure the technology is working, because we know that technology can be pretty finicky sometimes. So we ask tutors come in 20 minutes early. That way they also can ask any questions they had, all that good stuff. And then 45, after the 20 minutes, the student will log on and you'll work with the student on skill instruction, the student read aloud, the tutor read aloud, those kinds of things. And then 5 to 10 minutes afterwards, you'll be just completing the tutor notes, what you worked on with the student, anything you noticed. That's just for documentation purposes and for like the next tutor that might work with your student. And the next video, we have a video. It's like a minute and a half. This kind of gives you what our Connects program is going to look like. So take a look at this video real quick. And then we'll talk about it.
Reading Partners will look different this year. For the first time, we are making weekly tutoring sessions available online. A-E-I-O-U. Reading Partners Connects online tutoring.
Oh, Tony, they can't see the video. It's not playing. It might have.
Students. while limiting the spread of
Open it in the window.
Sick. Reading Partners has reimagined our program with student and tutor success, safety, and tutor satisfaction in mind. Our lessons and libraries will look different, but our mission remains the same: to help children become lifelong readers, empower communities, and get results. If you have tutored with us before, you can expect the same consistent approach to instruction full of quality materials you have come to know in its first time. We are making weekly tutoring sessions available online.
All right, please bear with me. Let's see. Are you seeing the video now?
Mm-hmm.
Will allow volunteers to provide valuable one-on-one tutoring experiences to students while limiting the spread of coronavirus and keeping our community safe. Reading Partners has reimagined our program with student and tutor success, safety, and tutor satisfaction in mind. Our lessons and libraries will look different, but our mission remains the same: to help children become lifelong readers, empower communities, and get results. If you have tutored with us before, you can expect the same consistent approach to instruction and quality materials you have come to know and expect from Reading Partners. Our AmeriCorps members and staff will still be available to guide you and answer any questions to ensure your success. With your support, students who start the year behind grade level in reading will have the opportunity to get back on track toward reading proficiency. Will you join us?
So as you can see, while Tony's getting the PowerPoint up,
It was running the risk of falling to the cracks.
our tutoring model, our curriculum is very straightforward. It comes with a lesson guide that basically tells you everything to say to the student, tells you everything you need to do, like action-wise for you guys as a tutor. You can't mess it up. So even if you're not like a teacher or anything, it's very easy to pick up. And, last year with my students, especially at Arlington, I know that 96% of the students out of 50 kids that I had at my center had met their end of year goals. And that was a large part of the tutors and her hard work that they do with their kids. Next steps, if anyone's interested, we can drop the link in the video again if you want to take a look at that. You'll go to readingpartners.org and then /volunteer Baltimore, and you'll just register for some more information, and then a volunteer coordinator will contact you, give you more information. If you want to start tutoring and come aboard, you'll attend a first tutor orientation. We are still working on a background check type thing because of COVID-19. It's been harder and harder for background checks to get done because, the fingerprinting hasn't been able to be an easy process. Even if if we can't get the background check done, it'll just mean somebody's sitting in on the lesson with you. They'll be silent, muted. They're just there for safety reasons. You'll attend a second tutoring session. These tutoring orientation are for you guys to learn more about the program, learn how to navigate the system, all that good stuff. You come out of it really feeling like you really could do this. And then you'll finalize your first session, dating time with the volunteer coordinator and the DTC. You'll have an optional 15-minute tech check to make sure everything's working. And then you'll come for your first session and meet your student. And I see the question here. Do you work with the same student each week? Yes, you will get paired with a student, and that's your student for the whole time. That's if, you know, your student, like, that doesn't mean like you might not, there might be an off chance where you might be placed with another student just for that week because your student, you know, was out sick, or, you know, they had a doctor's appointment or something. But 9 times out of 10, you do work with the same student. If you're not in Baltimore, we have other sites across the city. I mean, not city, the nation, excuse me. And you can still email that link down there, and we can connect with you with somebody that's in your local area. So as you can see, these are all the cities we are in. So yeah. If you can't, you know, can't partner with us, spread the word. You know, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us, share out, you know, our content, and yeah, hope to have y'all come and check us out.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Reading Partners, for all the work that you're doing across the city and across the country. So I know that Andrew's over at Arlington, which is over on the northwest side in the district that I represent. So I appreciate you being on here to talk about the great work that's happening all over the city, not just in East Baltimore. And so next, we will, and continue to add questions to the chat if you do have any questions. The next presentation we will do is from Hannah Wallace, who is the community school coordinator for Commodore John Rodgers School. And so Hannah, as soon as I get this up, you can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon. Thank you to Source for having us. You guys have been an incredible partner to Commodore over the past several years. So I'm really happy to be here and talk about the school. I'm the community school coordinator, and I'm entering my second year here in this position. Next slide. So a bit about Commodore's history. Commodore was identified as one of the lowest performing schools in Maryland back in 2010. And the school underwent what's called a turnaround process using the federal school improvement grants. That's a 5-year process. And the school successfully graduated from that in 2014, 2015, and was noted one of the most successful turnaround schools in the country. Next slide. So Commodore's vision, we will move 100% of our students from Commodore to college so that they have the opportunity to do what they choose in life. Our collegiates will compete and be kind at the same time. This idea of Commodore to college and 100% for 100% are mottos that our students know forwards and backwards. And that goes to all of our staff and partners as well, that we give 100% to our students each and every day to prepare them so that they can be successful at whatever they choose down the road. Next slide. So Commodore is a community school, and we sort of formally became a community school in 2014 after exiting from the school turnaround program. And what a turnaround, or what a community school is that we leverage our community partnerships to support and promote student achievement and community development. And I love this image because it really shows that the school is acting as the center point for our community and for our families, so that they can come to the school and we can connect them to city resources for health and social supports, enhanced academics, whatever that might be. So the 6 pillars of the community school model are family engagement, enhanced academics and enrichment, youth development, college and career readiness, community development, and health and social supports. And so the community model really takes this like whole child, whole family approach, that if we can create healthier families and healthy communities, that our students will have improved academic success. Next slide. These are some examples of how the community school model plays out here at Commodore. And a lot of these, we rely on volunteer support. So in terms of family engagement, we have monthly parent and community meetings. We do family nights, literacy nights, math nights, to get our families sort of engaged in what their students are learning in the classroom, and to show them how they can make learning at home fun. We do a lot of work in terms of health and social supports, providing the mobile dentist, providing vision services and glasses to our students, providing legal services, adult English classes, and a lot of resources around food access. Community development, this is a place where we see a lot of volunteers with our Reading Buddies program to help our students in 1st and 2nd grade improve their literacy skills, with our community market, and with our Strive for Under 5, one of our attendance initiatives. We also see many of our after school time partners working in sort of youth development, enhanced academics, and college and career readiness. Next slide, Tony. So how has this all changed since, March of last year? And, the Baltimore City School District, we are all virtual. Commodore has created a very interesting one-room schoolhouse model where our students, instead of having multiple Zoom links every day for class, they get one link and they log in, and our teachers actually rotate. So our teachers will teach to the whole 2nd grade, and then they'll have those 4 or 5 other support staff present to work in small groups. So in some ways, our students are getting more small group work than they would if we were in person, where there's 30 kids to one teacher. The Baltimore City School District, released some updates a few weeks ago about virtual learning. But Commodore will remain virtual until at least February. Most of our after-school programs have also transitioned to virtual. These include things like Harlem Lacrosse, our partnership with Baltimore Urban Gardening for Students, and Access Art. So our students are still getting those enrichment opportunities, but they are virtual. Those programs have submitted proposals to the district to allow for small group in-person work. So hopefully we will be able to offer that soon. And so I think one of the big areas where the school is looking for volunteers and support is with tutoring. Virtual learning has certainly exacerbated some of the inequities in education, and we're seeing that play out in Baltimore, whether that's access to technology, and as Andrew was saying, literacy is a huge area where our students could benefit from additional support. So every year we love, having volunteers in our classrooms. We have transitioned those volunteers to being virtual this year. So the time commitment for that is usually 30 minutes to an hour a week. We do try to pair tutors with the same student. And that's for anything from math, science, English language arts, social studies. We're looking at 4th to 8th grade. So students that have the ability to log into their Google Classroom and use technology without a lot of additional parental support. All we need is for our tutors and volunteers to really be interested in supporting our students. You don't need to have any prior, education experience necessary. Commodore is very interesting in our student and family demographics. We have a huge Latinx population with a number of newcomer families. So anyone who speaks Spanish or Farsi that is a huge plus to support some of our students that really need extra work and are really learning the English language. So in addition to sort of one-on-one support, the other volunteer opportunities that we currently have are supporting our food pantry. We host that pantry twice a month from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. So that's just a 2-hour commitment on those days. And so if you are interested in getting involved in either one of those, you know, my email was at the beginning of the presentation. You can reach out to Tony. We also have a Hopkins Volunteers at Commodore group, which is run by a student at the School of Medicine, Anna Clements, if some of you know her. So you can also reach out to Anna if you're interested in being connected to Commodore, and she will start getting you onboarded. So I think I will leave that there to answer any questions.
Thank you, Hannah. Definitely appreciate it. And we appreciate the partnership that we have with Commodore John Rodgers. So there's been, you know, over the years from our sort of service scholars to working with just students in general, Commodore John Rodgers has been a great partner. And we hope that we'll have some volunteers on here to continue that great partnership. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, we also have a really great partnership with the Henderson-Hopkins School. And to talk about that partnership and opportunities that we have available, we have the Community School Coordinator, Annie Weber. And Annie, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much. My name is Annie Weber. I'm the Community School Coordinator at Henderson-Hopkins. Thank you, Hannah, for putting together that presentation with the community school image. We are also a community school. We officially became a community school last year, which meant that the community school coordinator role opened up last year. So I came in last year, and this is my second year at Henderson-Hopkins. But I do want to thank Source. You guys have been such an excellent resource for us during this, especially during this time with COVID. Yeah, so let me pull up my notes. So our opportunity is not virtual. So I will go over the safety protocols, but we hopefully will have some virtual or some other volunteer opportunities, whether that be virtual during this time of COVID, but also I'm always looking for volunteers once we are back in person. Yeah, so this opportunity is with our food program. So I wanted to tell you all a little bit about Henderson-Hopkins. So we serve 580 students in grades pre-K through 8th grade. The majority of our students come from the East Baltimore neighborhoods surrounding our school, but we are a contract school, which means we're sort of like a charter school. So we do have kids that are coming from other neighborhoods in the city as well. Our mission at Henderson-Hopkins is to unlock students' joy and passion while preparing them for college and 21st century careers. So that's our mission in everything that we do. Under the leadership of Mr. Canham, who is our amazing principal, we became one of the most improved schools in Baltimore. And that was 2 years ago, and we're still doing great things. So throughout the pandemic, our physical school building has been closed since March to our general population of students. But we came up with the COVID response in 3 different areas. So the first is to offer high quality live online instruction that is aligned with the curriculum as close as possible. The second is to leverage partnerships with Hopkins to support our families. And the third, this is where the volunteer opportunity comes in, is to provide weekly food distribution, meal distribution to our families. So I would like to talk about that. So through our food program, we have it every Friday. We've been doing it since March. We've distributed over 250,000 pounds of food, and that's been in partnership with the Maryland Food Bank, World Central Kitchen, city schools. It's been, a lot of different, Hopkins. It's been a lot of different partnerships to make it happen, and we've been able to serve over 8,000 families so far. So it's we've really become a staple in the East Baltimore community. We're now doing grab and go meals for families with children every day. So it's, we've really become this, a resource for families surrounding food. So we're looking for volunteers to help deliver food to our families. We provide food. People on Fridays are able to walk up, drive up. So that's open to the whole, anyone who wants to walk up or drive up. And then we also have delivery to about 70 of our Henderson-Hopkins families every Friday. So I'm always looking for volunteers who have cars and who would like to, have a few hours. It usually takes in total an hour and a half to 2 hours to pick up the food, drop it off to families. So if, have those hours free on Friday, and if you have a car. Yeah, so I'll get into the details. So delivery, we do prefer to deliver volunteers that deliver to be in pairs if they aren't comfortable dropping off, aren't comfortable driving in the city or in the neighborhoods. It's easier. One person can be the driver, one person can be the food runner. So that's to answer your question in the chat. We do require all of our volunteers to wear masks, to have hand sanitizer in the car, and to pass a health screening before. So that means, no symptoms, no contact with anyone. But it is it can be contactless, this volunteer opportunity, which means you'd come up to the front of the school with the car. I would put all of the food, it's pre-made food boxes in your car, and then you would be able to, I give you a route of families, and then that food is dropped off to the front porch of those families. You would knock on the door, and we like to call or text the families before and say, hey, the food, we just dropped off the food. So it's really no contact with anyone. Let me see what else I missed. Yeah, so the routes usually take between 40 minutes to an hour to complete. So that means on Fridays, the pickup times for the food boxes would be anytime between, it's hard to say because we don't know when the food is always dropped off at the school, but it's usually anytime between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So those are, it's very flexible in the hours that you can pick up the boxes and then go do your route. What else did I miss?
I think you got all the questions so far that were dropped in the chat.
Am I missing any questions, Tony?
I think you got all the questions that were dropped in the chat so far.
Okay, so let me see what else. I think that is everything. I mean, we're always looking for volunteers. So if you are interested in volunteering with the food program, that's a great way to get involved. But also, I know Tony is going to be sending out a form. There we go. So if you are interested in volunteering at Henderson-Hopkins outside of the food program. We will have more volunteer opportunities once we are back in person, or, you know, kind of once the school year gets going. We're still trying to figure out other volunteer opportunities, but our food program is really the biggest one right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Annie. I definitely appreciate it. I know that we've been working with Henderson-Hopkins for a while, and you know, just knowing about the protocols that you have in place to make sure that folks are safe as they go out there to actually deliver the food is really helpful. So thank you for saying that and sharing that with us as well. Just a quick reminder for everyone that if you're gonna do any volunteer engagement, we ask that you report your service, and we actually have a reporting tool that you can use to report all your service. For student groups, it's a little bit different. They have, for those organizations, a different way of tracking their student opportunities or volunteer opportunities. But for one-on-one volunteering opportunities, we ask that you use this link to actually report your service. And Mindy just put it in to the chat. You have to log in with your JET ID, and once you log in, it's pretty self-explanatory about the way that you actually report your service. So at this point, we will answer any further questions that people have. If you want to put it in the chat, feel free to put it in the chat. Or I've got some other questions that I can ask as well. We don't have that many people on here, and so if you want to unmute yourself as well to ask those questions, feel free to do that. You know, we can go ahead and unmute folks, or you can unmute yourself if you have other questions. One question I do have for any of the panelists, why do you think it's important for Hopkins students to engage with communities?
I'll go. I was actually just having this conversation with our source service scholar. And, you know, we were talking about how, you know, students get a lot of information about like the social determinants of health, health disparities sort of in theory in classes. And this is a really interesting opportunity to sort of see how that plays out in Baltimore. Because I think there's a huge need in the city for, you know, youth development and community development, and there's a lot of amazing organizations working to fill those gaps. And so I think it just gives a little more context to some of, you know, what you're learning about and how to sort of strengthen communities and empower them to be healthier and sort of develop a more bottom-up approach than top-down.
Totally agree. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for mentioning the source service scholar. We definitely try to make sure that we have our students working with community-based organizations and to learn from you things just like that, why it's so important to volunteer in communities. Does anybody else want to answer that? Annie or maybe Andrew?
I'm sorry, Tony, could you repeat the question?
The question was, why do you think it's important for Hopkins students to engage with communities?
Yeah, I think that it's not only rewarding and impactful for the student, but it also is rewarding and impactful for the tutor, I think, and you get to see your students' growth over the course of your time with the student, and you're kind of, it does a good person good, especially during like the pandemic and everything, where we're sort of isolated, to kind of like get outside of ourselves, and, you know, interact with, you know, somebody else while making an impact. I think is why, you know, it's really important, and it would be great for Hopkins students to engage, you know.
So go ahead, Tony, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to thank Andrew for
Yeah, so I think to answer that question, I think it's so important. I know not all Hopkins students are from the Baltimore area. And I know I experienced this in undergrad. I went to Gettysburg College. So I knew like I wanted to be engaged in what was going on in the surrounding community because I wasn't from there. So, you know, and I know with Hopkins students, some people are from Baltimore, but it's a great way to, you know, when you're volunteering to, right, what Hannah said, understand some of the issues that you might be learning in class. And I know a lot of the times if when you really become engaged with a community partner on a authentic, deep level, it really can be life-changing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Totally agree. Does anybody else have any further questions?
Hi, I had a question.
Go ahead.
I guess I'm interested in like starting volunteer and to get involved with Source, do you just start volunteering or like do you have to join Source? I wasn't sure how it works.
Mhm. No, you don't have to join Source. However, make Source your resource. And so I can always meet with you to talk to you a little bit further about what you're interested in. We have over 100 community-based organizations that we work with. And if you were here in the beginning, I said that we normally have a community involvement fair that we do around this time of year. Because we're going virtual with everything, we weren't able to bring all of our community partners in for you to talk to them specifically about opportunities that they have available. And so if you go to our website, I'll make sure that I can put in the chat our website so that you can look at community-based organizations that we work with. We actually have a link on there where they're put in segments, whether it's around education or mentoring or advocacy. And you can kind of go through the list and see what you're most interested in. And we can have a conversation about how you can get involved with those organizations. And we even have a link so that if you want to reach out to them directly, you can. And we just ask that you let them know that you are reaching out on behalf of Source. And we'll be sure to kind of make sure that they follow up with you and that you get a good experience out of what you're trying to do in terms of your volunteering experience. So if you want to meet with me, I can definitely set that up and we can talk about what you're interested in if it's outside of what you saw here today.
Okay.
Just to remind everybody, or maybe you don't know just yet, there are going to be 3 more partner panels. We're going to do this every 2 weeks moving forward. So today is the first partner panel that we're doing. And within the next week, you'll see another advertisement marketing that talks about the next or the upcoming partner panels that we plan on doing as well. However, if you do want to meet with me, I'll put my contact information in the chat so that we can go over any other opportunities that there are available at this time with our other community-based organizations. Thanks for saying that, Kate. Good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
It's not so much a question, but hi, I'm Emily. I'm a PhD student at the School of Nursing, and I come from a clinical background. So I've worked with kids in a mental health clinic in Baltimore, and I just can't stress enough how important schools are for kids' health, kids' physical health and mental health. And so if you are a person who's interested in improving the health of children, you should know what is going on in a school and what kids' day-to-day experiences are like. And so I think that it's great. I'm happy that you guys had this panel. And I think for anybody, especially, I mean, anybody at all, but especially anybody who's interested in the health of children, it's such an important area that to understand.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Emily. I totally agree. I mean, and I think it's especially important. The work of the community schools and community school coordinators are really important in terms of the mental health of our students and their families. And so
Absolutely.
it's really good that we have 2 community schools on here that we're working with and our reading partners, the partnership that we have with them as well, because they do great work in terms of making sure that you have a one-on-one opportunity to work with students to help them with their reading. You know, I just can't stress enough the importance of our community partners and the work that they're doing with the children in Baltimore City. So I appreciate you saying that as well, Emily. Thanks. Any other questions or comments? If not, I am a person that likes to give you your time back. And so we want to make sure, however, that you do stay connected to Source. If you aren't connected to our weekly Source Service School, please email us at source.jhu.edu, or you can find us on any social media pages just by looking at Source or going for looking up Source on any of the social media, JHU Source on any of the social media platforms. And so with that, I would like to thank our panelists for being here today, Reading Partners, Commodore John Rodgers, as well as Henderson-Hopkins, our partnership school. And thank you all for being on here with us today as well. Again, if you would like to sign up, the link is in the chat for anyone that wants to get additional information from the 3 partners that we had on here today. And you can always reach out to me. My contact information is in the chat as well. And with that, thank you everyone for being on here today. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.